Ma'am, please confirm, is it visible?
Yes, ma'am. The slides are visible.
Fine. So the topic is design thinking for teachers in higher education institution. I'm Professor Dr. Deepti Sharma from Chandigarh University, and I'm doing this on behalf of IoT Academy. And my agenda today for today's session is introduction to the concept and conceptualizing teaching as design thinking and phases of design thinking. After that, we will discuss principles of design thinking, implementing the phases in higher education teaching, and finally the conclusion and question answering. So let's move further with the concept of design thinking, that how we can conceptualize teaching as design thinking. So design is a routine part of teaching, but relatively neglected in higher education as compared to the performative aspects. We have already implemented these things in the earlier versions, or we can say we have already implemented it in the industrial training sessions also. But in higher education teaching, we are yet to implement each and every aspect of design thinking. So improving designs has a flow on benefits for learners, because learners actually needs each and every phase of design thinking and various methods we can apply on of design thinking on our things. And increasingly important to meet the challenges of contemporary higher education and higher education. The higher education institutions must adapt. Just a minute. And higher education institutions must adapt the concepts of design thinking in teaching learning processes. So, how we can implement and how and why design thinking should be implemented in higher education teaching. So, these are some concepts, or we should say some factors due to which it is necessary to implement these things. First thing is diversifying students' need and expectations. Nowadays, the students are very tech savvy, and there is a very hardcore need for the students to fulfill their expectations, and even their needs are very diverse. So every faculty, higher education faculty and higher education teacher is required to understand the students' actual need, their concepts, how much they are already learned through technology, and how much they are expecting from a faculty members to understand what are their actual needs. And second thing is rising expectations about graduate capabilities. So whenever we have the various streams are there, various type of graduation specializations are there, and they nowadays we have very rising expectations for the graduates as per their capabilities. Even they are already learned a lot from the technology. And third factor is intensification of pressure of teaching staff. uh, Apart from a regular teaching, we have a lot of work regarding accreditation, regarding different outcome based education methodology. Many things are there. So the design thinking will help them out to ease their work, and even they can evaluate their students in a better way. And last factor is accelerating technological change. So the faculty members should understand and adapt the technological change, and they should also understand what their students are already adapted, and what they have already learned. So these are the phases of design thinking. First is empathize, second is define, third is ideate, fourth is prototype, and fifth is the test. In first two phases, student will understand the concepts, and even faculty members will help them understand the concepts more clearly. And in define and ideate and prototype, all three phases includes exploring the new ideas and how these ideas can be implemented to materialize the topics or the course uh, they have taught. And in the last thing, prototype and test. In prototype and test, the faculty members as well as the students will work like a team to materialize the concept they have already understood, and even they will explore new further ideas in the form of patents as well as in research papers and many more things. Now let's explore these phases in detail. First thing is empathy. So in empathy addresses the diverse style of thinking. It understands the interest, challenges, and motivation of students, users, or stakeholders. We can include
Excuse me, ma'am. Deepti, ma'am. Dear participants, our resource person will join us soon. She has some technical difficulties. We are very sorry for the inconvenience.
The organizers, please tell me from where I have to start. Where I left in the before disconnection.
Ma'am, you have disconnected long before, ma'am. I was trying to reach you, but I was not able to reach you.
Okay, my phone was on silent mode actually. Uh, should I start from this? Should I start from this?
No, ma'am, the previous one.
Okay, fine. Thank you. So the topic is conceptualizing the teaching as the design thinking, and design is a routine part of teaching, but relatively neglected in higher education as compared to the performative aspects. Improving design has a flow on benefits for learners and increasing important to meet the challenges of contemporary higher education. And higher education institutions must adapt the concept of design thinking in teaching learning process. Basically, we are going to adapt each and every phase of design thinking into our teaching learning process. There are some factors we need to specify. There are some factors that basically essentialize the need of including design thinking into teaching. So first is diversifying the students' need and expectations, and because nowadays students have very diverse understanding, and even their needs are very diverse and expectations too. And faculty members should understand their we can only do with empathizing our students, and we can only do with ideation process. So design thinking we should include into this. And then rising expectations about graduate capabilities. Nowadays students, the graduates are having very high expectations from their course and curriculum also. So the faculty members should interact with the students. What are their expectations from their course? And third is intensification of pressure of teaching staff. Nowadays, the teaching staff are very much involved in, apart from teaching, they are involved in the accreditation process also, and the outcome based education also, and many things are there to do with this the routine teaching learning process. So intensification is also there, and accelerating the technological change is also one of the major factors in teaching as in teaching process. So faculty members should understand the fast growing technological change, and they should understand, they should learn these things also. So these are the phases of design thinking. I was got disconnected prior to that. And so we have 5 phases of design thinking. First is empathize, then define, ideate, prototype, and test. So empathize and define phases more involved with understanding of the concepts, and um, we should we can relate it with the initial phases of Bloom's taxonomy. And in phase 2, 3, and 4, that is define, ideate, and prototype, the students and faculty members are more involved in ideation process or exploring the new concepts. And prototype and testing are more involved with materializing the ideation already involved, and we are going to together we are going to create the prototypes and testing these prototypes as a team. Right. So what are these? Now let us discuss these phases in detail. So first is to empathize, and empathize involves with addressing the diverse style of thinking, understanding the interests, challenges, and motivation of students, users, or stakeholders. And basically, empathizing is more human-centric approach, and we are more connecting more towards with our students one-to-one. We have various methods for doing this. We will discuss these methods later on. And second is the define. So define is addressing the convergent style of thinking to manage overall process and the purpose. Basically, we are whatever we have collected in our empathize phase or empathesis phase, we are going to synthesize that data. We are going to collect these observations. We are analyzing these observations also, and to clearly state the problem and challenge. So we should note down very clearly what is the problem with this thing, and how to face this challenge to solve the things. And then we have the ideation process to be able to cover more possibilities and accept the maximum ideation. So in ideation phase, together the faculty member as well as the students develop the components and concepts to address the problems and face the challenges also. The students completely involved in ideation phase. And next is the prototype method. So prototypes are useful for user testing ideas for quick internal use and client feedbacks also. And it involves with creating the models, drafts, pilots, etc. To transition ideas into application. We can include various reports, dissertation, thesis, project reports, patents into these things. So the prototype always involves to whatever we have ideated in the earlier phase, we are going to convert it into the applications in this phase. And it is now time to test the prototypes. It involves in observing the prototypes in actions and gathering the feedbacks to refine the product and program, etc. So in testing phase always includes with having more suggestions based on the feedback given by the users who are using these prototypes. For example, we have created one new methodology for evaluating our students. Now, whenever we are going to implement that new method to our a particular class of or a section of students, we can take the feedback from the students as well as from all the holders, including the management as well as the faculty member also, how this method is, and we can always ready to make changes to our already presented prototypes. So this is the testing phase. Next topic is, am I audible? Please tell me. Am I connected?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Now, the principles of design thinking. The basic we should say the idea behind principles of design thinking is people ignores design that ignores people. So the design should always understand the creation of design or whatever we have created should always involve with the understanding of people's behavior, and also we should also understand the basic need of people. So design thinking can be applied to any field. It does not necessarily have to be design specific, number one. And it is both an ideology and a process which is extremely user centric. It revolves around the deep interest in developing an understanding of people for whom we are designing the products or services. It helps us observing and developing the empathy with the users. So these are the principles of design thinking. First principle is human-centric. Second is embracing the ambiguity. Third is redesigning. And fourth is the tangibility. So let's explore more these principles. So human-centric means the developer, or we should say the idea developer, should have an human-centric point of view. So user-centric design means understanding what your users need, in our case, what our students need, how they think, how they behave, and incorporating that understanding of users' need into every aspect of their process, in teaching, learning process, in evaluation methods, in maintaining the discipline also. We should empathize with our student, and this approach should be more human centric. And second principle is ambiguity. Embracing the ambiguity means the ambiguity is inevitable. So experimenting at the limits of your knowledge and ability is crucial in being able to see the things differently. So it is about looking at the multiple ways to solve a problem. Some of the ideas might work, and some other ideas might not work. But we should understand the ambiguity is inevitable, and we should embrace each and every part of this ambiguity. So third principle is redesign. So all design is redesign. While the technology and social circumstances may change and evolve, the basic human needs remains unchanged. After understanding this basic human need, we should design these concepts, and we should redesign the concepts again and again until our users or our students or our stakeholders should be satisfied. And last is the tangibility. So tangibility is after gathering the ideas, one shall start experimentation or building the prototypes also. Experimentation or building prototypes helps to realize what ideas works, which one don't work. Hypothesizing and testing will determine what changes will lead to an easier and frictionless and more intuitive part. So all these principles lead to more effectively get attached to the user or the students or the customer wherever we are implementing these principles. So we should always understand the need of our user. We should always embrace the ambiguity. We should always be ready to redesign whatever we have already designed, whether it is a conceptual method, or it is way of teaching, or it is a way of evaluating the students, or it is way of maintaining the discipline. Whatever it is, we should always be ready to redesign the concept, and at the end it should be tangible. So these are the methods of design thinking, and we are going to implement these methods. Various methods are there in design thinking that can help higher education institution faculty members to improve and adapt new teaching pedagogy. Some of these are rose, thorn, and bud method, interviewing method, observation method, importance effort matrix, concept mapping, morphological charts, creative matrix, and the thinking hats method. So we will discuss some of these methods in this. So first is implementing empathy, how we can implement empathy by interviewing the students. In higher education institutions, faculty members are regularly interacting with their students or in touch with their students during the vivas, during the class sessions, during the events also. So many chances are there where faculty members are actually interacting with their students. But this interviewing method is a bit different. We are interviewing the student for some specific purpose. Interviewing is a strategy to gather information through direct communication. It can be done face-to-face or virtually. We can interact with the students virtually or face-to-face. We can also perform this thing in mentor-mentee session. Sometimes we are already involved with mentoring session. So a teacher mentor can always interact with their students and interview their faculty members. Usually done one-to-one, it is used to gather information and build empathy also. It increases the credibility with the students and stakeholders. It includes the challenge, assumptions, and perceptions. And here in interview, the flexibility based on interview is neat. So basically, interviewing method always involves with interacting with the student one to one. And what is the process? So process of interviewing is identify what you are trying to get and set goals for the interview. So faculty members should identify what they are trying to get out of this interview and set goals for the interview also. And develop the specific and open-ended questions should be there, right? So the open-ended questions should will always understand what actually the student want to say, and establish a criteria for selecting the participants for the interview. You should understand which student you are actually going to interview, what is the purpose behind this interview, and why we are going to interact with these students. Is the student comfortable while giving this interview? And next part is select the place for interview. Isolated, neutral, safe, or unrushed should be there. And fifth is introduce yourself. Begin with the easy question, listen carefully, take notes, and thank the participant also. So finally, we are by utilizing, or we should say, by spending some minutes with student, we are going to understand his need. We are going to understand the student's point of view also. And next method of implementing empathy is the observation method. So observation is method is based on the fact that what people say, what people do, and what they say they do are entirely the different things. So this is the observation method always helps the faculty members to understand whatever they have already declared, or we should say whatever they have already mentioned in their interview process. Is it really okay with it, with their behavior or not? So intentionally using your senses to learn about what students do during the session, while they study, implement, and play, or during events, etc. It is a fly on the wall, contextual inquiry, and immersive research method. So we will discuss this in the next slide. What is fly on the wall? What is contextual inquiry and immersive research? It is about building understanding of the context of the problem and empathy with the students involved. Now we have already done the interview process, or some of the students we are going to directly observe with their behavior. So we are building the understanding of context of the problem identified. Most often, it involves with going to the situation. So these are the ways of observing. First is fly on the wall. Observers are back away and observe the class they are observing. So sometimes faculty members sit behind the class and give them some kind of activity to the students, and observe the class with their behavior, individual students, and the problem area also. And second part is the contextual inquiry. Observers stay side by side to the person they are observing. Sometimes faculty members always sit beside their students to see whatever they are doing. And they even can question about what they see. And third type is immersive research. So the observer is actively following what the person is doing, and uh, establish the criteria for selecting the participation. Just a minute, I should remove this line. Fine, I'll remove this line later on. So next is defining a problem. The empathize or empathy method or phase we have completed. Now we are going to define the problem. We are going to define the problem with another method that is called importance effort matrix method. So this method helps the team to identify and prioritize the projects and ideas. It is primarily used in define phase of design thinking. This step is to explore all ideas and decide which idea to implement first. Right? We are collecting the ideas. We are not going to finalize the idea in this. but we are collecting all the ideas in this phase, in this define phase, and then in ideation phase we will work on one particular idea. Okay, so this matrix enables the participants to pick and select the outcome of the process and convert it into actionable steps. So this is the matrix. This matrix says that we should have an impact and importance axis as well as the effort axis. We have divided this into 4 parts. First is with low hanging fruits. Second is with high ROI. Third is with luxury, and fourth is the strategic. So we can see from this point of view, we have collected various ideas and we have divided these ideas into these 4 quadrants. Now, in the first area where efforts are also less and impact and importance is also less, these are low hanging fruit, easily achievable ideas, but we are not putting effort into it. Like a simple class test or simple surprise test or simple 10 questions if you are asking for evaluating a particular concept. So these are low hanging fruits. Second thing is where importance is high but effort is less. These are high ROI, high return on investment ideas. Where effort is less but importance is very high. So these are high ROI. Third part is the luxury. Luxury means the importance is less or impact is less, but effort is high. So we are going to evaluate, we are going to divide the students into various groups and create and divide the topics among the students and swap the questions to one group to another and the other group to this one, and they will evaluate, and further you will evaluate their evaluation process. Many things are there. So this is called the luxury. Luxury means you have a lot of data, you are going to analyze this data, but the effort is also very high, but the importance or impact is less. What is the outcome of this particular process? And last is the strategic. Strategic means you are going to put a lot of effort as well as the importance and impact is also high. So a complete process of evaluation from day 1 to the day end of the session, if you are going to prepare some strategic plan for evaluating the student, this is the strategic process, right? So this is the importance and effort matrix. Now the next thing is defining in defining a process. Next thing is concept mapping. So in concept mapping, we are going to map the concept with the sticky notes. So mapping leads to better understanding how individual define the concept. It is a process of creating creating a detailed visualization of all the elements of larger concept, phase, or term. The purpose is to visualize the relationship between the elements of the larger concept. For example, there is one complex concept is there. You can divide it into different parts, different elements, and then create the relationship between these elements and visualize the whole process. So there are many ways to create the concept maps. A teacher can team up with the students to create the concept map or can create it by its own. So we have this is the process of concept mapping. Step 1 is on your own. Write down all the ideas, terms, experiences, etc. that come in mind when you think of the concept, and write down all in the sticky notes. And step 2 is post and sharing all the sticky notes among students after eliminating the duplicates. We are going to divide the elements to the students so that they can relate the concept and create a bigger concept after that. And it will help them to learn these concepts faster. And step 3 is to begin to organize the concept you posted according to the flow chart or a hierarchy, etc. And now in step 4, draw a line between related concepts and discuss with the students also. You will collect these sticky notes from the students and they know the relationship among the elements, and you will post it somewhere on the board, and they will understand the concept, larger concept later on. And now the next phase is the ideate solution. Using morphological charts, we can ideate the solutions. Students have already given the ideas, various ideas we are going to collect in defined phase. And now we will understand how different ideas are related to each other, or how we can transform these small ideas into one bigger ideas. So these are we can perform these things with the morphological charts. Morphological chart is a brainstorming method that generates a new concept by connecting different variables. And the process of morphological charts are: step one, start with a simple 3 to 5 table and or a simple column table, and give the column name with the functions or needs. And step two is adding the ideas to each column. Here we can see in this diagram that we have divided these columns into different parts, and we have assigned the ideas to different columns also. And then step three is connecting the ideas together to form a new concept. And step four is look for the other combinations to create additional concept. Morphological charts always helps the faculty members as well as the students work as a team, and they can generate new ideas, and even they can connect new ideas to create a new concept, or to solve a different problem. So now this is the ideation phase. And next is the prototyping the idea. Using the concept called concept poster and pitches, we can prototype the idea. So what is concept poster and pitches? It is a strategy for presenting the key points to the new idea. We have already created an idea, or we have already selected an idea, and we have already related the different ideas together to solve a bigger problem. Now it is time now to prototype this idea. Now this strategy will work as a amalgamation, or we should say the combination of two different parts, that is concept poster and concept pitches. So concept poster is used to visually illustrate these points, these key points. And second is concept pitch is audibly convey these key points. So first is illustrating graphically or illustrating pictorially these key points, and the second is conveying this audibly. So often they work together to share a prototype of an idea in order to gain support or to move further. What is the process of this concept poster? Concept poster process involves with the following steps. Number one is identifying the idea. We have already identified this at the end of our define phase or ideation phase. We have already identified it. And now we are going to assemble the team and determine the key elements of our idea and way to include them. We are going to include our team to create the prototype and draft the layout, and finally draw the final poster. This is the poster, the sample of the poster we can create for prototyping method. This sample is, I think, is not very good. Just a minute. Yes. Now this poster says you can jot down different elements of the poster, and you can identify why actually we have selected this particular idea for implementing. And next is the process of concept pitches. Concept pitches includes to identify the idea we have already identified. Second is understand your audience. Fill in the gaps not necessarily grasped by your poster, whatever we have left with, or there is some limitations in representing the idea in a pictorial representation. You can fill this gap by your pitch, and describe why this is a concept worthy for further development, whatever we have already discussed in our poster. And keep it brief is an important part for having a pitch. And now we are going to implement the testing. So in implementing the testing, the method, there are various methods, but we have identified one method that is important, that is a rose, thorn, and bud method, which is more a human-centric approach. So this method is useful for taking feedback from students, clients, or users while implementing the empathy for design thinking. It is a balanced and anonymous way for reflecting an experience, idea, product, or a service. The process involves with three types of stickies: the the thorn, as well as bud. Rose means a pink sticky, the thorn means a blue sticky, and bud means a green sticky. Rose represents the positives, strengths, and successes. Thorn represents the negatives, weakness, and challenges. Buds represents the opportunities, potentials, and area of growth. While doing this process, we should remember that feedback should be kind, specific, and helpful. So here we have three steps. First step is reflecting an experience you have had, or product or idea or service. Write each rose, thorn, and bud on individual stickies using the marker. And third is place each sticky near or on information being presented. So we have understood and we have done all the concepts of design thinking into our teaching learning process. And now I'm going to conclude the session. Design thinking is an extension of innovation that allows you to design solution for the end user with the single problem statement in the mind. And it is not only imparts a valuable skill, but it can help advances your career also. It is also a collaborative endeavor that can be only be mastered through the practice with peers. Learning outcome of this lecture is to closely map all the phases of design thinking with teaching learning pedagogy of higher education institutions. Various methods mentioned in this lectures are, when incorporated into teaching methodology, it will add value to the learning process, whether it is the rosebud method or the concept mapping method, or the other methods we have discussed. The faculty member should maintain a human-centric approach for the teaching and defining the uh, real world problems to the learners, ideate the prototype, and test the success of adopted methods. So that's all from my side. If you find any query, you can please ask me. Thank you. Yes, please. Any doubts?